Tell me the only thing you are is mine now. Na 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 na. I got a good feeling. Na 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 na. I got a good feeling. Good feeling. You wanna know is how to hold on to it every moment. Dive into it like my love is an ocean. It's overflowing. I swear it's golden. So good that I'm rolling.
Did you know it all boils down to love or fear? That is the question. And I know it sounds simple, love, fear, but it's not so simple. And you know why, OJ? It's because our left brain and our subconscious get in the way big
Wow.
time. Big time. So, sometimes we think we're doing it for the right reason, but maybe we're not. All right. So, we are talking about love versus fear and our perception or perspective on it. And our perspective will determine our perspective of the world. It's pretty simple, but it's not easy. Hey, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, for sure. All right. Can I tell you a story?
Yes, please.
All right. So this happened to me this morning, literally this morning, and it really inspired me for today's session or today's show because what happened to me is I was in Buffalo, New York, which is not that far away from us. Oh, there goes Kathy. Anyway, Buffalo, New York is not that far away from us, but it's across the border into the US. And I'm in Canada. So when we went there a while ago, they have toll roads and they send you the bill. And so we had gone on a couple of toll roads and they actually sent us the bill and it was $2.48. And I got the bill and I actually misplaced it. And they sent me a reminder and I forgot about it. They sent me a second reminder and I forgot about it. I just got the third reminder and I know that's my bad. I should have noticed and paid it earlier. So I take responsibility for that I was delinquent on paying them the $2.48. But so I got the bill in the mail last just this week on Monday, so 2 days ago, and now it's $54.48 because they had added a $2 surcharge, so that made it $4.48, and now they're dinging me with 50 more dollars because I was late and I'm now going into collections. And so the way that I look at that is that was my bad and shame on me. And so, it's too bad I owe them another $50. And that's US dollars. In Canadian dollars, it's about $70 or so because there's a pretty hefty exchange. Yeah. Well, it's 30 some percent, close to 35%, give or take. So anyway, so I thought, well, they had a warning that the next stage is they put you into the next, I guess, phase of their collections, which is legal action, and they add on another couple $100. So I'm like, okay, for this $2.48 or $2.48 plus the $2 surcharge. Yeah, I don't think I want another couple $100 added on to that. So they gave me a deadline and I acting seriously on it now. And I went down to the bank. So I thought, I'll just pay it by credit card. I didn't see anywhere where I could pay by credit card. which I thought was strange. So it says to send in a check and do not send cash. So anyway, I went down to the bank today for another reason, and I went to go get a U.S. money order so that I could mail this off to them. And when I was in the bank, the guy at the bank says, we do no longer will issue personal money orders or bank drafts to the US in US funds. And I'm like, what? I was kind of upset. I'm not gonna lie. I was upset. I was like ready to like lash out. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't do that? Come on, like this is, and I was a bit of, I definitely was upset. And he said, and I think what added insult to injury is that he said to me, why don't you just send cash? And I'm like, you never send cash in the mail. Like, you're not supposed to do that. But so after I lashed out just a little bit, I lashed out. I wasn't rude to him or anything, but I definitely was annoyed. I'll say I was annoyed because I was going to do this and everything was going to be great. So now I'm annoyed, but I'm trying to practice self mastery, and I caught myself. And I'm like, okay, stop, 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 stop. And literally, while he was speaking to me, I closed my eyes and I did 3 deep breaths and I regained my composure and I was good. So now I'm off of the fear based action. So in my fear, what I guess the way you would look at it is I'm annoyed, I'm angry because my fear is that there's repercussions for me. And how am I going to get this money to New York so that I can get off of their bad list and be out of collections? So what I regained my composure, and you know what? That bank teller was probably 20 years old, or the guy at the bank. They're not. I don't think they're tellers anymore. But he was helping me out. The associate helping me out was probably 20 years old. He's probably never had to send a check anywhere or a money order because everything's online. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go. I thanked him and I left. And I said, I'm going to go to the post office. Maybe they will do a US money order. And they didn't. But I was nice to her. I kind of expected that now. And I was nice and pleasant to her. And then I moved on to my next place. There's another bank across the street. Now, I did not expect that another bank would give me a money order, a bank draft. Usually you have to bank there. But I went over anyways and I tried, and they said, no, unless you have a bank account with us. And he says, oh, you can open one. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to open bank accounts just so I can do a money order. So now I'm scratching my head. What am I going to do? I looked online, and all of the places they said to try were the ones I already tried. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go home and I'm going to phone the New York toll services or whatever they're called. So I did. I went home and got into their lineup and, waited for the next available agent. And so when I got to talk to the agent, he was able to take my credit card over the phone and I was able to pay it. But the good news is he waived the $50 fee and the $2 fee. So all I needed to pay was $2.48. So all of this that started off with me being really frustrated and annoyed because my bank wouldn't give me a money order turned out to be a good thing for me. And so it ended up being a happy story. And I saved myself $52 US in the process. And so for me, I look at it is yay! Thank you, universe. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I live in a friendly universe, and the universe or our larger consciousness system, if you're looking at it from Tom Campbell's perspective, was there looking out for me and gave me the opportunity to flow down the river. It gave me a bend in the river. And what it was doing was giving me something better. So remember, we talked about this yesterday. It will be this or something better. And so I actually got something better. So this is that was such a great surprise for me. So it's really inspiring to me. My pocket has an extra 52 US in it in my bank account. So I'm happy about that. And I'm also very inspired. And this is kind of what we're talking about today is our love and fear. And I know we've kind of talked about this last week when we were doing the Tom Campbell stuff. And I just wanted to be inspired to talk about it a bit more because I think we could all use to hear the messages more than once. And I'm going to look at it in a little different way today than we did last week. Last week, we talked about how we can move away from fear, but sometimes I think we don't even realize when we're in fear versus when we are in love. And that comes to this mind here. Intellectually, we think we are in love phase, but not always, because there's a difference between being and being and acting. And so sometimes I don't think that we really know which, that we're acting, and we think we're being. All right. So love and fear are really about where you are at with your emotions. And so on the love side, it's love and happy, and you're doing well and everything's good. On the fear side, your emotions are going to be stress, fear, being unfulfilled, having negative feelings, maybe annoyed, like I was today, or anxious or upset, all of those things. And your feelings are at the being level. And that really is it's really who you are, and it's expressing who you are at the core. So these are feelings that are really deep rooted in our core. And I want to just talk a bit, because if we want to be in love, there is a thing about, and this comes from Tom Campbell. If you read or listen to any of his stuff, it's also this whole business about loving yourself, because we've talked about that. You can't love another until you first love yourself. And when we're talking about love in this way, it's really about liking yourself. Because if you dislike yourself, then that is negative feelings about yourself. So maybe you feeling unworthy, incapable. And so when you're not liking yourself in that way, then you are limiting your ability to love. Okay, so I think maybe that helps a little bit. I thought that was a nice way to talk about the whole idea of loving yourself first, and making before you can love someone else. In this case, think of we have to actually like ourselves, feel that we're worthy, that we are capable, and stop the negative self-talk. That's a big thing. I know one of my kids is very good at giving me a little slap, not in the head, but a slap mentally when she hears me, Mom, stop with the negative self-talk. They'll say, oh, I'm not very good at that. And so if you catch yourself saying, I'm not very good at something, Maybe rephrase it, not that you're not very good. I haven't had that much experience with that. If you were practiced at something, you would be good at it. And we all have the ability and the capability of being geniuses, but it's where we focus our time, right? So if you're not, I haven't done something and you're learning, of course, you're not going to be the best and an expert at it because you need to learn first. So give yourself a break. Right. And now, being versus acting. So when you are acting, so when we talk about love, when you're acting love, you might be acting caring, you might be acting loving and kindness, but it's coming from your intellect, not necessarily from your core. To be from your being, where you're being that, you have to really, it has to be from your core. And so you need to be loving and caring. And really, there's the motivation behind your actions are just that you're loving and caring. That means you're being. And if you're acting loving, you're doing it because, you're civilized. Like, you might not like the person, you might be like behind in your head, growling and grumbling, but up front, you're acting loving, caring, kind, with kindness. And so here's an example. Let's say you're walking down the street with somebody and the other person had a $20 bill in their pocket and it falls out. They don't see it, but you see it. Now, if you are acting loving, what you will do is say, wow, $20. Did anybody else see that fall out of his pocket? Because if no one saw it, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to pick it up and keep it. But then you realize there's other people around and they may have seen you. So you give it back to the person. So you give it back because you're acting loving. You're doing it actually out of fear because there's the fear that you might get caught, other people saw you, you might be shamed, whatever you want to say. So in that case, when you give back the 20, you're acting out of love. You're not actually doing it because you are, and you are being love. If you are being love, then you are going to give back that. You're not even going to think about it. You don't care who's watching or not. No matter what the scenario, you're giving it back. You're not even thinking twice about it. You don't think twice. You're not even thinking once about it. You just automatically are going to give it back right away without thinking about it. So I hope that helps. Does that help with acting versus being? That example, I hope that helps with you. And so if you are liking yourself, you want to get rid of negativity and you want to get rid of that fear when when you're liking yourself. And so then the question is, so we'll just kind of move on, is the fear is all about you. And when you can let go of the fear, you become a little less self-centered, and that changes your reality. So this is where we're going to talk a bit about reality and perspective. So there's two ways to be. There's your negative and looking at the world from a negative perspective. That it's scary, it's a bad place, there's unpleasant things, it's not safe, da da da. That's your negative side. If you are thinking about our world as a positive, the world is full of potential. There are problems in the world, but it's just about a bunch of people who are doing the best that they can, trying to grow up. That's what we're all trying to do. We're in a growth centric experience here on earth. So they are trying their best to grow up and to actualize their own potential. and trying the best to do their own thing. Now, we're all at a different place because everybody has their own reality. It's like we're all in our own little computer game. We're in, we have our own little room in the computer game. And so everybody's got their own. And so I'm the star in my computer game or the main character. And, other people might be visiting and coming through, but it's my game and my reality. And everybody has their own reality. So if you are thinking that the world is a negative place, then your reality is going is going to be painful and unhappy, and you can go to a pleasant, happy reality by changing your perspective. And that means you have to get rid of your fear. So as you get rid of your fear, then you are actually going to be guaranteed that you will have more fun, have better relationships with everyone, not just your spouse or your partner, but with anybody, your parents, your brothers and sisters, your kids, your friends, even acquaintances, even Kathy, your cat, or for me, my dogs. And if you do that,
She's watching you.
where's the kitty today? But if you can get rid of the fear and you have more fun and all that, guess what? You will have automatically less stress and less negativity. All right. So it goes either way. And so in order to have this be in a better place, what we need to do is learn to let people be who they are. All right. So when we're fearful, we're trying to manipulate things and people in our lives. We want them to be the way we want them to be because we know better how they should be and what they should be doing. Okay. And so I'm just going to share my slides. And if you weren't here, we went over these slides a couple of times. Yesterday we did when we were talking about this. So this is a model of the world, and you could kind of look at that. There's 4 levels of consciousness. So when we are fearful and we're trying to manipulate things and people, we are in by me. We are just like doing our best to make everything work the way that we think the world should work. And so guess what? That's our reality. And so we are trying to, and most people, most of us actually spend our lives trying to make things turn out the way we want them to be. And so for me today, I almost got into this, and then I let it go because I knew that I had no chance of winning, and it was the wrong mindset to have. I moved away from that negative mindset and that annoyance and anger and that I had because I originally, in my old days, before I had the ability to kind of check myself at the door and make a change to how I respond, I probably would have been like wanting to see the bank manager and all this stuff. And to be honest, it's not going to change anything because they have their rules and their services, and the fact that they took that service off the table, what am I going to do to change it? There's nothing I can do. So I need to let go of it. And so this is the thing, right? When we're trying to change things, it's actually still about us. And if we're spending our time trying to make things turn out the way that we want it to do, we're going to be pretty tired, to be honest. And we're trying to basically enforce our view of the world onto the world. And so that's where our energy is going. So, here's some examples of that. How can I get my boss to give me that promotion? So if I'm in by me and I'm looking to manipulate the world and manipulate things, I'm thinking, what do I need to do to get my boss to give me a promotion? Maybe I got to take him or her golfing, or to a spa, or maybe I need to do X, Y, and Z, and maybe try and get more FaceTime with my boss. So that's a person in by me is trying to figure out how they're going to do that. Ooh, how can I get my kids to clean up or behave? Ooh, if you figure that one out, let me know. I want to hear from you. For sure. Or how do I get my spouse to do something? I don't know, stop leaving their socks laying around, or, ooh, I know one. This is in our house, but it's not a spouse. Stop. How do I get them to stop leaving their shoes at the front door in a pile? Okay. So when you're trying to figure out how to get somebody else to change, you're actually trying to manipulate the world. You are only setting yourself up for frustration. You're being self centered. You're going to have stress. And guess what? Most of the time, you actually are going to fail because you're in your reality trying to get everybody to do the way that it works in your reality. They are in their reality also trying to get everybody to fit their pictures of reality as well. And so, really, what it is we all have different points of view, and we're right. Like, I'm right in my view. In my reality, I'm right, obviously, right? So that's when you're in by me. When you're in to me, I just want to address that. You're just in victim mode. Everything is happening to me, and I just can't win. And you're like really in it. You're not trying to manipulate the world. The world is just coming in on you. But you can see that that is also very negative. And definitely those take up negative feelings that are like fear-based feelings really take up a lot of energy. And how do I know? I've been there. I know. All right. So what's the better way? The better way is to let people have be who they are, because they're in their own reality. They're on their own little computer game in their own little section. And that doesn't mean you just let them go. But you do have things that you can do, but it's not about changing them or getting them to do what you want them to do. It's about making sure that, I mean, you can look at your kids, what options you have. I guess you can lay down the rules, and if they don't follow them, there's some consequences for them. But the other thing is really, if you're not happy about something, it's about talking about what is bothering you to the other person and framing it as how I feel. And then you tell them how you feel, and then they will deal with that in their movie. And oh, it sounds so simple, and makes so much sense. But practically, that's why I said it's simple, but it's not always easy, for sure. All right. And so this is all about growing up, and how you grow up really is about how you deal with all that stuff. It's about how you make your choices. Are you going to be caring, compassionate, or are you going to be manipulating everything up front, which is fear and ego based? So if you are in through me and as me is a whole other level, but in through me, you are making your choices from a caring and compassionate place. And it's where you are inside of you. It's not about how you're acting. Because remember, We already said that you can be acting that way because you know it's the right thing to do, but is it in your core? Are you doing it for that reason, to be caring and compassionate and coming from that place of love? Um, and if you are feeling that the world is disturbing you, oh, let's talk about the world, because there's world problems out there, right? For sure, there's world problems. And we have a choice on how we feel about those as well. So if you look at the world and what you see is really disturbing to you, then you're likely coming from a place of fear and ego. But you can also come from a place of being sad. And if it's sad, it might be that you are fear based if you're sad, but it also could be, if you're sad, that you are sad out of love. You are sad that people that you care about are doing things that are creating pain for them and they are unhappy, but there's nothing that you can do. And you cannot change people. You can only change yourself. You can, like I said, you can tell them how you feel, but you can't make them do anything. And that's why when we're manipulating on by me, we're really working hard. It takes a lot of energy. And so if you feel that the world is a nasty, self-centered place, that shouldn't really make you upset, believe it or not. You should accept the world the way it is. And because you accept it doesn't mean that you like it. It means that you understand that it is the way it is. And also, if you're at a place of consciousness that you think if you start thinking you're better than other people and that you're superior, you are also being very negative that way too. Because we have to remember, and this is the best place to come from, everyone is doing the best that they can with what they have to work with. And, there's that, some of these adages and sayings that we have that have been around for a long time. They're around for a long time because they stand that test of time, to be, if you really think about it. Because if you think about, you don't know someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes. We don't know where other people have come from, and so it's really hard, and we aren't in their reality and know what there's only one person who knows them, and that's themselves. We all are in our own reality, and no one else really truly knows who we are and what our experience have been and how we feel, because we're all individual. And so what they have to work with is based on how much that they love or fear in their life, how much love or fear they have in their life. And so when you see people who are struggling with their fear in such a way that they act rude and life is miserable and they are unhappy, have some compassion for them. We need to accept people as they are. Everyone and everything is actually a teacher for you, because you have choices to make when you interact with people and things, people, and also other beings like our dogs and our cats. We have choices that we can make, and so our decisions that we make from those choices are what helps us to grow up as well. And so if you think there's someone that you don't particularly like and they say something rude to you, it's an opportunity for you to make the right choice and grow up. Feel compassion for them and don't get angry. And so this is all our perspective. So we all have the choice to to choose our perspective. Are you going to come at it from that fear-based mentality where you want them to fit your model and reality of the world, understanding they have their own? Or are you going to come from a place of love and compassion? And that's where you can, that's really what it's all about. The way that you interpret your own reality will change your reality, for sure. And so, one of this, I think I've said this a number of times. Wayne Dyer is quoted as saying, "As you think, so shall you be." Your reality is going to be based on how you think. If you are thinking love based, you're going to have a whole different experience than if you are thinking fear based. And how you interpret your reality is in terms of your loving, caring, compassion. And you don't see it as a miserable place that makes you fearful, upset, and angry, but you see a bunch of people who are struggling and you are trying to help. So, what is your choice, love or fear? Pretty simple, but I know, because I got hooked by it today. It's not always easy. But what we can do is when we catch ourselves being fear based, like I did today, try to turn it around. The hard thing is, the longer we're fear based in a situation, the harder it is to reverse it. And I've been there too, where you get so angry that you like at some point you don't even, you're not even rational, and then you're gone. It's like a whirlpool, right? If you're on the outside edge of the whirlpool, you can catch yourself and get out of the whirlpool. But at some point, you're in that vortex, you're just going down. There's nothing you can do about it. Any questions on that for today? All based on my experience at the bank this morning, which turned out good. Any questions or comments? Hey, Kathy.
I think it's interesting how much we control.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we don't feel that we control, that a lot of stuff is out of our control. And so that's actually a really good good observation and thought, is that we do have the control, like we can control things, and it's in a different way than what we think, right? Because it's really, we can only control our own reality and how our perception and how we perceive that. And so that's, I guess, the message is, if you can change your perception to loving and caring, you're going to change your world and how much you control in your world too, and how your world looks. Good thought. I love it. All right. We are going to be back again tomorrow, probably talking about more of the same. I love talking about love and reality, and maybe some more lessons on our world and how we shape our world. All right. So we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if you like this and you want to learn more about how you can rule your own reality and get some self-mastery, send me an email at Debbie at myplantstronglife.com. It's in the notes or in the chat. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.